Oh, sorry, I've got a dog and she's going to make him... Hello, say hello. You're going to bark in the middle of this one. Hi, Daphne. Hi.
Hi.
So we've just watched Pina by Wim Wenders, his 2011 documentary about Pina Bausch, mostly recorded after her death, sadly. And yeah, we're here to have a little conversation about our responses to it. How did you find the film?
Oh, I love that film. I love her work, her universe. So I thought they did an incredible job filming it and yeah, really translating it to a 2D screen because it's such an immersive experience on stage that I loved it.
Yeah, sadly I've never seen a Pina Bausch performance, and I was quite interested in the use of the term dance theatre. Is that something very specific to Pina Bausch? And could you explain it a little bit for me? Because
okay, so, well, I think she kind of received criticism in the beginning for being very theatrical and not kind of strictly dance, and it brought about this new term, dance theater, because she's really using and reinventing the elements of both dance and theater, and creating her new universe with it.
That's amazing. Yeah, and I also, back to your original comment, Wim Wenders, I think, had thought about doing a documentary with her for the 20 years before, but it was only with the advent of 3D cinema that he felt confident that he could provide some kind of experience that would have some parallel. Obviously, we've all watched it on laptops and screens, so we don't get the full effect, but maybe just his confidence in knowing that he could get a more three-dimensional scenario, you know, that something equivalent to the experience of going to a live performance. Yeah, I don't know what the translation from 3D to 2D is, but it's certainly yeah, it's a very immersive film, and I felt that I, you know, had experienced in a greater part four pieces that they cover in the film. And I mean, I think I confessed to this on email that, you know, my experience of contemporary dance really is Michael Clark, beginning, middle and end, and I love it and all, but going to see anything, and so even, you know, it's always in a theatre and there are always props and costumes, so I'm still slightly confused as to why hers maybe was so why hers was considered outside of how dance was normally produced. Does it not have those other elements?
Yeah, I mean, she used those elements, I think, to such an extreme that wasn't, well, also just her voice and her vision, it was so revolutionary and just important, the way she was communicating. I mean, they say a lot of these things in the film, that you were allowed to feel sadness and beauty and loneliness and joy, and her focus is so much on the human and revealing these elements inside each of us. And her dancers are incredible, so they really like peel their skin off and reveal these certain truths of what they're going through. And I mean, more than anything, I think it's just her vision and her voice that spoke to so many people. I mean, yeah, it's just incredible what she's created, and timeless, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I thought there were two key things that stood out for somebody without the language of dance, but, you know, her use of nature. I mean, just the fact that people are dancing on, and it says peat, so it looks like soil to me, and then that last scene with the rocks and the water, and then seeing the dancers who are trying to express their individual respect for her then go out and dance in these kind of, you know, kind of rocky enclaves. It's just, you know, it's really visceral, and of course I've never seen anything like that on stage, either in theatre or otherwise.
Yeah, I think the first piece I saw of hers was Full Moon, the piece with the rock and the water, and I was just spellbound. Like, I sat there the whole time just totally and utterly overwhelmed by the whole experience, and it continued when I left the theater because the water was gushing out of the stage,
Oh my goodness.
gushing onto the streets in Brooklyn. I was so floored. Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, just continued and continued, and then it's one of those, well, I think all of her pieces just make you think about all these questions and kind of existential ideas and just deep curiosities, which the dancers also talked about when they were interviewed in the film. And yeah, it comes across just as an audience member, these thoughts and feelings and questions.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, especially with the first piece, I think because there's a kind of gender, you know, she separates the genders and then has this kind of push-pull between them, that, you know, this quest for presenting some kind of relationship understanding or love or, you know, conditions of gender was really powerful, I thought. And just the push-pull over the red dress, and, you know, just how simple a tactic that was, but how powerful it was to watch. I really liked that. And actually I was going to be really clever and have had watch One Day Pina Asked, the Chantal Akerman film, but I somehow managed to fail to access it on Vimeo. Yeah, so Chantal Akerman made this film in 1983. Have you seen it or heard of it?
No, but I want to.
Yes, well, I will find it and I will do better next time, because you can rent it quite cheaply. But yeah, so she made a film where she went on tour, so it must have been in the early 80s, with Pina to different European countries. But I suppose given the resources she had, she did something quite different from what Wim Wenders did, and didn't really document the performances themselves, but really followed a lot of the backstage and Pina herself, and, you know, a lot more sort of close up. Anyway, I'd love to see it because I'm a huge Chantal Akerman fan as well. And they are, yeah, go on.
Oh no, just, I can imagine there's a lot of background stories to be told, because one of the few that I know is, well, you're not allowed to smoke in the BAM Theater, for example, in Brooklyn. And, you know, Pina smoked a lot, and when they told her, you know, oh, Miss Bausch, you have to, you know, you can't smoke inside, she just stood there and stared at them until they just, I don't know what, crippled and went away. She was like, what are you talking, like, I don't know. And if she was taking long flights with her company on tour, she would purposefully book herself certain, like, layovers so that she could enjoy her cigarette and just, you know, live life the way she wanted.
It's a pretty intense look for a dancer to be such a enthusiastic smoker as well. It's amazing.
I know a few.
Do you?
But no, she's next level. Yeah.
Yeah, to make it such a public part of your persona. But I liked what you said about it being timeless. I mean, I think there was one aspect where maybe the costumes and the music felt a little bit post-war, and but that was about the only time it really felt like it had a kind of place in time. Whereas I loved the scene with the cafe, just because it's so pared back, you know, the furniture. I mean, it looks like an art installation basically to me. And I think that's really effective, just the simplicity of it, because yeah, it could have been much more grounded in time or decorativeness or something. But I thought that was a really nice trope that Wim Wenders used, where you see them looking at the model of the cafe and then it switches to the actual performance. That was really nice.
Yeah, almost like you're going from your imagination to the piece, kind of her transition from thinking about it into the stage performance. So beautiful.
Yeah. and also for him to I had to read about this later to fully understand, but there was the piece where there's 3 different age groups and he films them separately but then brings them together. So but it's also, I mean, given that it's 2021, just seeing so many different ages dancing, I mean, is that typical in the dance world, or is that quite revolutionary or a little bit pushing the boundaries?
Yeah, I mean, it's not, I wouldn't call it common.
Okay.
Even still, for sure there are dancers and performers at all ages, forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the way she framed it and really presented it in this way, like such a comparison and obvious statement about, well, so many things, but yeah, it's just so, and she really gets like the essence, I feel. That's why so much of her work is timeless, because it's really about the essence of things, the elements. And funny enough, she's using elements, kind of bare elements, water, a rock, the flowers, the dirt, and it just reminds me perhaps of her focus on just the elements of the human, elements of the world, elements of society, the way we separate ages, separate genders, our cultural ways of approaching gender and each other. Yeah.
That's really interesting. Yeah. And have you ever danced any of her pieces?
Oh man, I was so lucky. I got to dance her piece, Wind van West, Wind from the West. And that, I will cherish that forever. That was a really unbelievable experience, and we learned it in school, and some of us were even taken to Wuppertal to rehearse and perform in her theater and in her studios with some of her students and apprentices, and it was unbelievably incredible to learn this language. And there's so many details about it, endless details on how to communicate more truthfully, more deeply, more honestly. When in the film, when Pina talks about the difference of her eyes looking forward or looking down behind closed eyelids, and that was the whole difference of everything. That's exactly what I came across when working with some of her dancers. It was just so incredible, super emotional and transformational to perform her work and research some of those corners inside myself as a human, as an artist. Wow, amazing.
That's so beautifully put. I'm going to suggest that we wind up there because that was just such a lovely end. So I'm going to press the off button.
Os teus olhos não são teus, são duas Ave Maria. Os teus olhos não são teus, são duas Ave Maria. Dos ários da amargura que eu rezo todos os dias, do rosário da amargura
Dance, dance, otherwise we are lost. Tanz, tanz, sonst sind wir verloren.